To help break down what we've heard so far during these hearings, joining me now live is constitutional lawyer and McGeorge School of Law professor Leslie Jacobs. And Leslie, Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee have really been going in on this judge, this nominee, some of it challenging her credentials, and she has more judicial experience than 43 of the last 58 people who joined this high panel. She was your pick when the president shortlisted the potentials to succeed Justice Breyer first came out. How do you think she's done overall this week in the hot seat, fending off challenges about being soft on sex offenders and queried about critical race theory?
Well, I think she's breathing a sigh of relief now that the hearings have wrapped. And yes, I think most people would look at it, whatever they think about the questions and answers, would say that she held up well under a long stream of questioning.
When we talk about judicial philosophy or approach, you hear the term textualist. At one point this week, Judge Brown Jackson said her actions would be constrained by the text. Can you explain all of that for us non-lawyers?
Sure. Well, the text means the words of either a law or the Constitution. And that's what judges are supposed to do, is that they're not making up the law themselves. They're looking at the words that were written by somebody else and saying, this is what they mean in this particular circumstance of these facts and this person before me. And so she's saying, I'll behave like a judge.
And that's what we would expect, obviously, at this point. She has a long history of being a judge. Much has been made this week in some circles that she's gotten an easier pass through this process than Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who had protesters in and out of his hearing, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, whose nomination and fact-track confirmation right before a presidential election were very controversial. One, the rules for visitors to the Capitol are vastly different since the insurrection, and she's not been accused of a sexual assault, so of course the context of her hearing would be different. And with Barrett, Republicans kind of abandoned their let the incoming president pick precedent that kept Merrick Garland off the court. So there really wasn't that baseline of controversy with Brown Jackson, right?
Yes, I'm going to agree with what you've said, that there were different things going on with the Gorsuch nomination and the Barrett nomination because those were procedural objections. That is, the claim by the Democrats were that the Republicans were manipulating the rules. And yes, there were different allegations against Kavanaugh that he vehemently denied, but it was a different circumstance.
So we've seen some of the questioning. We talked about, some of the different things that maybe don't really pertain to a judge, like critical race theory, in terms of those questions coming up, but just the whole nature of what's surrounding this particular nomination is just vastly different than those two cases we just mentioned. Now, as senators try to make a decision about who will sit on the U.S. Supreme Court, California has already decided about our highest panel. Judge Patricia Guerrero confirmed becoming the first Latina who will ascend to that position with her confirmation this week. Given the demographics of California, some may think it's strange that that's just happening now. What do we know about Judge Guerrero, and what should we expect out of her judicial style?
Well, she came to her nomination process and confirmation process eminently qualified, just like Judge Jackson. She'd worked in a law firm, she went to a good law school, but she also has a really diverse background in the sense that, number one, she's Latina, but she's also a working mother. She's a child of immigrants and working class people. And so all these different experiences she will bring to the court, because I think that's what we're looking for. And most people would agree, when you have a body of judges making a decision, they apply the same rules, but they use their perspective to make decisions about what those rules mean in particular contexts. And so having different perspectives there and different experiences is so very important. And that's what we see with Guerrero in California, and that's what we will see with Jackson on the U.S. Supreme Court.
And again, that vote, they're trying to do it on Monday. We'll see if the Republicans are able to block it. Thank you so much, Leslie, for giving us your insight on these two women this morning.
Pleased to be here.